Well, the left is melting down over Elon Musk's DOGE looking into Social Security fraud. Liberals really do not want you to see all of the fraud that's hidden there, all of the waste and abuse. Overnight, we got word that the head of the Social Security department has resigned, I guess in protest. Bye-bye. Good riddance. We now know that a huge percentage of the Social Security checks were being sent to people who are 150 years old. I personally never have met a person that is 150 years old before. So people born in 1875 are still alive?
I may have met a tortoise.
A tortoise? I've seen,
that old.
A tortoise or...
Maybe they were collecting Social Security.
Perhaps. Maybe a whale. They were in their 20s
Definitely
when Theodore Roosevelt was
live that
president. Okay. You're in your 20s when Theodore Roosevelt was president. Sure, okay. So let's give you some context here. Elon posted this showing the age ranges of people receiving Social Security checks. Look at this. Just take a look at your screen. How many millions of them are over 100 years old? And I love the age range of 140 to 149 years old. 3 million Americans still receiving Social Security checks. And even look at the chart below. This even goes lower than that. There's one person that's 360 years old that's still receiving a Social Security check in the United States. Dan Geltrude is America's accountant. He's author of Positive Financial Karma. He's been looking into this and joins us now. Dan, I can't wrap my head around, first of all, why do you think liberals are so upset
about learning this?
What would make you upset to learn this?
Well, they shouldn't be. Let's start with that. But they are. So the question is, well, why are they upset? Well, they must feel that their hands are dirty. Why else would you try to block someone or block a team of competent professionals coming in to audit what's going on with, by the way, our money? That's our money, right? It's not the government's money. It's our money. And they've been, meaning the government, very poor stewards. Now, here's how I'm looking at this. Forget about who's doing the work. Forget about who's behind all this, because I'm going to tell you something. This problem with Social Security, this didn't start in the last 4 years. This has been going on for years and years and years. So I'm going to tell you right now, members of both parties are responsible for why, we'll call it, this incredible incompetence of government. Certainly fraud would come to mind as well, because how could these numbers be where we're making payments to millions of people, more than 20 million people that are older than 100 years old? So there's plenty of blame to go around that way. But you would think that everyone could come together here and say, all right, we had a problem. We have a problem. It's been happening for a long time, and both parties had a hand in it, but now we're going to fix it. What's wrong with that? Nothing is the answer.
Right. Well, something that Democrats have sort of pushed back against is that Social Security is insolvent. This is something the Republicans have been screaming about for decades, and Democrats don't seem that worried about it, even though they do court retired voters. So how can those two messages both be true?
Right.
Well, they can't be, right? So either you want to fix this problem, right? Because based upon what DOGE is uncovering here, maybe Social Security is not insolvent. Certainly,
right, that's my thought too. Let's see the real numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
The numbers I've seen thrown around here in terms of bogus Social Security payments being made are in the vicinity of $500 billion. Well, if you cut that out, it seems to me that you could start to make up a lot of ground related to Social Security, right, and keeping that solvent. And beyond that, Social Security is just one piece of the incompetence, and I'm going to keep using the word incompetence, and that's actually a compliment, compared to they're all stealing from the government. So this incompetence, which to me is throughout the federal government. So he's scratching the surface here. Every place he goes, it's billions of dollars that are being wasted. How could this be? Well, how could it be? Because it's not their money.
Well, as an accountant, this seems like very basic spreadsheet math, because very quickly Elon Musk said they weren't even deduplicating, as you and I talked about before. They weren't even deduplicating Social Security numbers. So you have multiple versions of the same Social Security number, and many of them going to the same address. So all of this fraud would have been easily remedied if they had at least a somewhat non-incompetent accountant running the show. But it seems like it was intentional from both parties, to your point, both Democrats and Republicans. And finally, Republicans under President Trump said, we've had enough. We're done with this now, and we're putting our foot down on this incompetence.
Well, this to me goes back to you have, I guess, close to half of the country that says anything that Donald Trump does is bad. Any idea he has is bad, and they're never going to see it any differently because of the person. So we have to go beyond this. Does it matter whose idea it is? How could the country not come together and say, wasting taxpayer dollars is bad? I don't care who says it, but here's the difference. Donald Trump is actually doing something about it. You could go back to all the presidents in our lifetime have talked about they're going to clean things up and all the money that's wasted, and it goes on and on. Now, finally, somebody is doing something about it, and people are yelling and screaming that this is a terrible thing. If Joe Biden was doing this, it would be a good idea in spite of Joe Biden. There's no difference. An idea is an idea.
Well, Calvin Coolidge was a small government conservative. He actually tried to shrink the government, but didn't get very far because then Roosevelt got in and bloated it up. So you made the point that everybody should want to see waste eliminated, but that's not the media message right now. Over the weekend, 60 Minutes, in their defense of U.S. aid, said it's just a little bit of the budget. It's just a little bit wasteful. They're only doing a little bit of this, that the American people don't. So what do you make of that argument, that anything that's cut was just a little bit wasteful? I mean, those things obviously accumulate. We see the DOGE clock in how much they're saving.
Right. I don't think that there's any little bit here. I think that you have to look at everything across the federal government. Every single department, my guess is, has similar problems. So when you start to add all this up, it becomes real dollars. Now, everybody's, who's happy with the amount of taxes they're paying? I don't care how much you make or how much you pay. Everybody believes it's too much, right? Yet we have $36 trillion and counting of debt. So think about that. With all the taxes we pay, we're still way outspending what we could collect. There's only one way to go here to fix this financial mess. That's to cut spending. And the place to start is to figure out where the waste is. Once you do that, that's recovery.
Right. Oh, I would love it. I hope they go through every one of these departments. We're doing Fort Knox next. We're going to hopefully looking at the SEC. I mean, it's just taking a rake to this stuff right now. Dan, great to see you. Dan is the author of the great book. You need to check it out, which is called Positive Financial Karma. Dan, great to see you as always. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you.